Welcome to the Ben Wood Johnson podcast. You can visit Dr. Johnson's blog at benwoodpost.com. Dr. Johnson's works can be found at drbenwoodjohnson.com. You can also support Dr. Johnson on Patreon, the link to which is in the description. Hey, welcome back to the Ben Wood Johnson podcast. Today is September 18th, 2023, and this is podcast number 75. It is always a pleasure to be with you, to talk about philosophy, to talk about life. Today we are going to continue our series on me. Like I said, this season is dedicated to me. I am going to share personal stories, though the intention is not to call out a specific individual, but to give you a sense of what I've been going through as an immigrant, as a black man in the United States. And quite frankly, it is a very displeasing moment in my life, and I would give the world to get out of this, and I would not wish what I'm going through, not even on my enemies. This is to tell you how bad it is. Nonetheless, I am going through a very difficult time, and it seems like everything I touch turned into, you know what, I don't have to say it, but it is not gold, to put it this way. So it is a very horrible, difficult time for me, but I'm holding on. I am hanging on. I am strong, and I think I have what it takes to withstand this. Now, for how long, I don't know. That is why I want to go home. I want to go back where I come from, as they say. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of living in this world where I am the target. I'm just like a piñata. Everybody wants to take a swing at me, and I have no recourse, I have no help, and I feel tired of it, and quite frankly, it's demoralizing. But anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in at this hour. This is always a great pleasure to have you with me, and if you have the opportunity, please subscribe. Please like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Without further ado, let us delve right into it. I usually don't like to talk about myself. And the reason being is that I don't find it necessary to talk about me. I am not a mysterious person. Anything that can be seen about me can be seen about me. In other words, I'm not a hidden person, though I am a personal person. You would allow me this cacophony of this redundancy, but I am an open book. And what that means is that I am who I am. I am authentic. I'm genuine. I am sincere. I am compassionate. I'm also passionate, by the way. I am also righteous. And let me emphasize on this word, righteous. You see, I come from a family of righteous individuals. I grew up seeing my mother be as righteous as can be. Many people in my family are religious. They're Christians. And my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, they follow the rules. They follow the books, the Bible in this case. And they always try to be righteous in what they do. They inculcated that in me. Ever since I was old enough to remember, I was taught to pray. In fact, I don't remember a time in my life where I went to bed without praying, without asking for forgiveness for my sins and asking for humility, patience, and tolerance. So that's where I grew up. I grew up in an environment of loving care, though my father was a different person in this regard. But my father did not last long enough in my life to have an impact on my personality or my persona, right? My mother, I was raised by women. I was in a family where I was the only man, the only male, if you will. And I learned at a young age to care because I grew up with people who cared. I also learned to respect, and I also learned to defend those who couldn't defend themselves. Even though my grandmother was the head of the household, she was as tough as they came. And my mother was also a tough cookie. So my family were hard defendant of righteousness. That being said, I also remember when my mother told me that the world was different from the world that I had been taught in the books, in school, or in other places, especially in church. And my mother wanted me to understand something in particular. She wanted me to understand that I was someone who would be despised. I remember my mother used to call me a hate magnet. She would call me innocent drogué. It's a Creole term for, you are gonna be hated, but because you are innocent, there's not much they can do to you. And I remember discussing a few times with my mother, even arguing with my mother, disagreeing with her. No, I'm not a hate magnet, I said. She was like, no, you are a hate magnet. I said, why am I a hate magnet? I don't have any enemies. I have friends. I have many, many friends. And in the neighborhood where I grew up, almost everybody knew who I was. And I wouldn't say that I was famous growing up, but I was popular. I knew everybody and everybody knew me. My mother was like, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that there's something about you that people are not going to like. And as you grow older, it will become obvious that you have much more haters or many more enemies than you think. Now, this dawned on me for a long time, and I grew up denying that reality to the extent that every time somebody acted in a way that suggested that they didn't like me, I tried to justify the reason that they might not like me until I ran out of reasons. And then I realized that, people just didn't like me for being me. Now, who am I? I just told you. I am as open as can be. I'm honest. I speak my mind. I fight for justice. I despise injustice. I always defend those who need help. And in school, I was always seen. I wouldn't say that I was the brightest students in my class, but I was certainly not among those who are the dumbest, right? So I was always there. And there's something about my personality, some would say, that makes me shine wherever I go. And I like being seen. I like being heard. I like being a part of the conversation. I like discussing, debating. I like doing those things. And I was also a natural leader. So I like to lead. I like to take initiatives. I like to sort of be the guy in front. I like to be the guy who sort of figure things out. So over the years, I realized that these were reasons why people didn't like my guts. And some people didn't hide it. They really hated my guts. Some people made it clear to me. Others hated. And over time, I realized that, in fact, my mom was right. I am a hate magnet. Now, of course, one of the reasons I would leave home to immigrate in the United States is precisely because of that. At some point in my career, I became so successful as a police officer that within a very short period of time, I rose through the ranks. Okay. At some point, I was in charge of one of the most powerful units in the presidential security unit. So I was in charge of literally protecting the president's life. And I loved doing my job. I was good at it. And being a leader was something that I've always done. As a karate instructor, I've always led people. I taught English, I taught Spanish, I tutored people. I've always been good at that. Then I realized that this is exactly what people hate the most in me. Of course, we could debate other reasons why people may hate a person like me. Now, when I came to America, I was under the illusion, and I'm using the word illusion because the idea that America is a place of democracy, it's a place of fairness, it's a place of equality, it's an illusion. There's no such a thing in America. Now, a caveat, I do not hate America, okay? I want it to be clear as I move along here. And I have to say that because people may assume that I'm one of those haters of America. I hate them. No, absolutely not. In fact, I love America. Okay? I love America. I love being in America. At least I used to love being in America. Not anymore. But as a whole, I love America. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to be. But I've also realized over the years that America is a very dangerous place. It's a dangerous place because this is one of the most advanced societies in the world, in human history. And people come here from all over the place. They come from different backgrounds, different lifestyle, different levels of accomplishment in their lives, right? And when you come to America, the opportunities, for the most part, are there. So anyone could become anyone in America, right? Those of us who were born to be, we are going to be in America. But those of us who weren't born to be, all of a sudden you have a shot. You have a possibility to be, right? And when people like that become, they're likely to resent those who were born to be. And I would be a little bit pompous here. I was born to be. As I have described myself to you, I was born to be somebody. In fact, ever since I was a child, I was somebody. Like I said, everybody knew my existence. And I knew theirs as well. So I was born to be. And I have been ever since I was a child. My whole life, I can recall times and times again where I was something. I was doing something important in my community for the people around me. I've always been somebody. Now, when I came to America, I found out that there are a lot of people who would have never been, but for the fact that they are in America, right? If these people grew up in the society where I grew up, they would have never been. Because these people are full of resentment. These people are full of anger, hatred, a desire to destroy others. And they're never contented. They're never satisfied with what they have. They always envy the other. They always want to have what the other has. Of course, this reality is manifested in many ways, one of which is racism, which we've talked about here. And racism is the trademark of the American society because the society itself, the social system, the economic system makes it possible for people to hate one another and get away with it. Right? So I have learned this over the years, that this environment makes it auspicious for people to despise one another. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that it is not necessarily a race thing, though racism is a manifestation of that. But people hate each other, one another, no matter where they are. So America is a country where hatred festers, right? Hatred and resentment everything that is not good for a society to live in harmony and peace exists. And I've seen this reality growing up in a country where that's what it was. And when my life was threatened at home, I had to leave to come to America. So in the beginning, I was, maybe America is a good place, And then I realized that America is even worse than home. The difference with America and other places is that, you see that people sometimes they get away with their hatred, especially if they are in a position of power, right? So when people are in a position of power and they hate you, and they're going to do everything in their power to manifest or to sort of materialize that hatred towards you. And they're going to do it in such a way that there's not going to be anything you can do about it. And anyone else who is in their orbit, who may not hate you, may or may not hate you, they're not going to intervene. They're not going to say to that person, don't do that to that individual. People are going to sit back and let whatever's happening to this innocent person happens. And I've seen that all too often. And Americans do not have the guts to stand for what's right. Most Americans do not have the guts to do that. And the people who are in this level of I would say, moral, if not spiritual decay, where all they can do is hate, then they get away with their hatred because nobody's going to call them out on it. So I don't take pleasure or I don't take sides because I can see these people represent the core of America. It's a country driven, modeled by hate. And the level of hatred that characterized the American society is getting to a point where it's only going to get worse, and it is going to be to the demise of the country itself. It is sad because America is a great country, regardless of what you think of it. But America has always been, in the history of the world, it's one of the best places to be. Like being in America, it's a very different experience. It's something unique. Okay? So over the years, America has transformed the level of anger, the level of hatred, the level of antipathy that I see in America. It's only makes sense if you live in a society in decay. But that's besides the point of what I'm trying to talk about today. What I'm trying to talk about today is this idea that hate undermines the core of humanity. Okay? It undermines us as individuals and as collectives. What I have seen, and this is a personal understanding of this, I am a hate magnet here in America as well. Almost for the same reasons I was a hate magnet back home. And what is the reason they hate me the most in America? Like I said, for the same reason they hated me the most back home. Back home, they hated me because I was outspoken. They hated me because I was for justice, for equality. I was righteous. I wanted to be, at least I aspired to be a righteous person. I wanted to achieve. I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to be among the best in whatever I do. And I was the best in what I did. So that's the reason they hated me back home. And it got to a point where their hatred for me could not be consoled other than by taking away my life. And I had to escape several attempts against my life. At a young age, I left home because I could no longer leave home. The people at home hated me so much that I didn't trust them anymore. I didn't trust anyone back home. So I came to America, and little by little, I realized that America is the same, if not worse. Because you see, back home, there are options. You can fight back. And when somebody does you wrong, you can fight back. You can get this person. Not only you can get this person to stop, and if you cannot, you can get back at this person as much as they got to you. Here in America, it's different. In America, depending on who targeted you, you can do nothing but to sit back and let them shove whatever it is that they're shoving in you, whether your throat or whether somewhere else. Because the way the society is designed, when the person is in a position of power, that person can use that leverage to destroy you right before your eyes. And there's no recourse. Justice? No, there's no such thing in America. The American justice system is rigged. Okay? It is for those who can afford it and those who know those who are within that system. It is not for average Joe like you and I. Okay? Because there are certain things that they do to you, you go to the court, you're wasting your time. And you're going to lose on top of that. Because the system is not designed for justice. So there's no such a thing as justice in America. So I've learned this. The police corrupt as much as they are. So who do you call for help in America? The media? Well, there was a time the media was a way out. You could call the media, put your story out in the media, and the next thing you know, you would galvanize some compassion, and the people that are trying to hurt you could backtrack a little bit, but not anymore. Not anymore. So this left this country in a place where there are no recourse. So you have to understand why America is becoming much more violent, where violence is becoming the norm in this country. Because the system in itself doesn't work anymore. The society on its own doesn't work anymore. There are no mechanism to heal the wrong that members of society do to one another. So sometimes violence becomes the only way out. Violence becomes the only way out, the only answer. So you have to fight that desire to use violence against those who use violence against you. Because the society itself is designed for that. So that is why it is destroying humanity on its face. So what I've seen is that here in America, people hate me for the same reason they hated me back home. Of course, for a while, I had to sit back and question myself. Am I the wrong? Who's wrong? Am I wrong? Am I the problem? Am I the problem? And for a while, I sort of believed that I was somehow responsible for this. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm too ambitious. Maybe I'm too outspoken. Maybe I shouldn't open my mouth. I shouldn't get involved in things that don't concern me. Maybe I should just keep a little low profile. But then I realized that even that doesn't help. Because even when I keep myself as low profile as possible, people still find a way to target me. Why? Well, exactly for the same reasons. Here in America, I am also a high achiever. I am also outspoken. I am also ambitious. I want to succeed, and I do succeed. And people can't stand it. Right? But the point is that I realize the society is going down because there's too much hatred. Recently, I had a very negative experience. The last 2 years have taught me many lessons. I have spent the last 2 years trying to better myself. And as I tried to better myself, I found myself in a situation where people were trying to destroy me for it. A couple of individuals whom I interacted with over the last 2 years have set up traps for me, making things impossible for me, hoping that I would either give up or falter. Now, this is against who I am. I like to achieve. I like to succeed. No matter what it's in front of me, I am going to face it with integrity. And I have done just that. But I could not but thinking, why are these people trying to hurt me so much? Like, why are they trying to hell bent on destroying me so much? Like, it baffles my mind sometimes. Like, I've tried my best to be as righteous as possible in this country. I respect people. I do everything by the book. I follow the rules. I just don't understand it. But somehow, these people are lost in their soul. Their spirits have been decayed. And they've targeted me, and not only me nowadays, it's even my family, right? They've gone after my wife. They've gone after my child. And I feel like they're not going to stop. And I have come to this point where I have to say to myself, well, what is it going to be? Are you going to keep sitting back and let them do you? Right? Now, so far, I don't have the answer yet. I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's what I do. No. But I'm not the kind of person who takes it in. I'm not the kind of person who takes it in. By nature, I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. By nature, that's who I am. Now, in America, I have withheld myself from fighting back. I've tried not to fight back against these people. And the reason I've not fought back, I did not fight back against these people, is because I still believe that humanity can change. I still believe that at some point, some good, something righteous can come out of it. Like those who have targeted me, who are targeting me and my family, at some point they're going to snap out of it and they're going to say to themselves, why are we targeting this guy for so much? I'm hoping they will. But I do know that I'm not the kind of guy who just takes it in.